My biggest takeaway podcast.
Brendan, man, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. I'm excited to talk about what it is you do, what it is you're doing inside this space, and essentially how you help a lot of different coaches just like us, man. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. So tell me, what got you into the fitness space as a whole in general? Because you've been doing this quite
Yes.
some time, right?
Yeah. So I went to school for exercise phys about, I don't know, 11, it's a while ago. you lose track. You lose track of time, fortunately and unfortunately. But I went to school at Florida Atlantic University. I played collegiate football there, and I always had a knack for training at a very high level. And I trained with big strength and conditioning coaches, pros, Olympic athletes. And I'm from South Florida, so you can imagine the amount of athletes around me, and just loved training. So I ended up going to school for it, and then I ended up leading down a path of this interest in calisthenics, street workout and calisthenics to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? If these guys can do it, then so can I. And I started YouTube, and then it just really took off from there. Just one day after another, I just fell in love with the process and was creating content, built a Facebook 1,000,000 in 6 months, and my YouTube to 800,000. And I just was traveling, teaching, and building programs, building coaching, and I loved it. That's how it started.
Nice, man. And so you said you got 1,000,000 in 6 months on Facebook?
Yeah. So
Walk me
not
through
many
that
people.
journey because I know, like for myself, like when I first started Facebook, I had like 6,000 in 6 months, and I was like, "Yeah, we're doing things."
Yeah, no, for sure. And this will be in a book someday on how it all came to
Totally.
be and the journey and the story. But I don't think I've ever talked about this before. But many years ago, when I was playing collegiate football, I was watching these people called bar stars. You ever heard of these guys? The
Mm-mm.
street workout guys that were everywhere in New York City, hitting like muscle ups on the street pipes, and like it was so cool to me. I was like, yo, I don't know if I can do that, but like one day maybe I'll do that. And when I was playing collegiate football, I started skimboarding. You know what skimboarding is, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of not surfing, but like kind of doing it at a pretty high level. And then I was like, you know what? I really don't want to play football anymore. I dislike how hard I have to work for it, and I don't love it anymore. And I was going to
Mm.
play for the Florida Gators and all this stuff, and I was like, you know, I just don't. So I started getting into my own Facebook. I was like, well, if I can start personal training and start making money, then I should also be able to start creating content around the people that I was training,
Mm-hmm.
right? So recording and capturing that. And I started posting on my Facebook. So I started with just like some simple blog posts. So I would go to these other blog posts, I would copy all of it, and then I would paste it on my Facebook. Like I was like a guy writing all these articles, and I would do it every single day. And people started noticing not only those articles, but also me talking about training and training these other people. And it led me to trying to understand, well, hey, if I can do this on my personal Facebook and I started with only 3 or 4 likes, then I must be able to do this at like scale. And so I went to start researching who is owning these different Facebook groups. This is back in the day. I was like, who is owning these Facebook groups? And then I got in contact with one guy, and then I got in contact with another, and I started discussing, well, how are you building these Facebook pages, and who's managing them, and how are you doing shout outs and all this stuff. So I started buying these little $5 package deals, and I built uh, this fitness motivation Facebook. And I was trafficking people through little shout outs to that fitness motivation page. In the fitness motivation page, I would slowly sprinkle in my own stuff, and I would send them to my YouTube and I would send them to my Facebook. And so over time, as I started posting at a very high rate, every 3 hours, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would literally post. They didn't have like scheduling and stuff. And
Right.
I just kept on just shuffling and taking people from this big page, making bigger and bigger deals. And then I would shuffle them all to YouTube as well through that Facebook. So I built 1,000,000 in 6 months, and it was through those tactics. That's it.
It sounds very familiar with what we used to do back in the day at Shreds. We
Oh, you
had,
worked with Shreds? You worked with
oh,
Shreds?
yeah, I was the ninth employee.
Mm,
Yeah, like startup. Yeah,
that's
when
a
I
small
came on,
world.
I think we were doing like 90,000.
90K a year or a month?
Yeah, no, 90K in inception, and then I came on board.
And then
Yeah, so like the
it just
early days.
10x. It just 10x.
Yeah, it just exploded. And then I left 2.5 years in to go back and do my own thing.
Shreds.
But yeah, one of the things that we capitalized on was the shout for shout, the shout outs. And at one point, and Arvin Law is a marketing genius.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, I'm familiar.
it was above it. He was ahead of his time. And they had like 60 plus accounts. You had one. They had 60 Instagram accounts. To where it would be anything from makeup to memes to bodybuilding to nails, like painting their nails, like different audiences, different places, and pushing traffic to essentially the influencers, the brand. And then when Black Friday comes, if you remember, we just take over the entire internet
Yeah.
because it was the way that it worked then was that there wasn't an algorithm. It was just chronological post. So at 2:00, everybody posted, and it was just as far as you could see in your feed, just the same graphics. And we just basically basically like Black Friday take over the internet, like Black Tuesday, if you would, right? Looked like it was spam, but we would literally spam Instagram, and it would absolutely crush. And we used to do the same thing. I mean, I remember at my peak of working there, I was posting 23 times a day on one account. So I'd wake up, post, go back to
That's how
sleep,
it was.
wake up,
That's how it was back
post,
in
go
the
back
day.
to sleep. From 5 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. for 6 months. So I never slept more than a 2.5 hour stretch for 6 months.
That
Maybe
literally
that's what drove me to like quitting because I
that
was like
that's what
over it.
that's what drove me to now being an owner of software.
Exactly. Automations are our business now. But
That's great.
so I think something that people like, for those that don't know who you are, what got you in, like, because you've gone through multiple businesses at this point, right?
Yeah.
You care to shed some light on what those businesses were?
Yeah. So I first started with All Core Society, and that was about 10 or 11 years ago. That was with the Calisthenics. I built a little apparel brand, spent $10,000, all my own money, saved it up, and I sold 25 shirts, 30 shirts, maybe 40 shirts, and I lost all the money there. But I knew from that moment forward, I'm like, if I can do this with this locally, even if I spent that much money on all the shirts, maybe it was $5,000 that I spent. I can't remember. Then I'm like, I can do this. I can do this at scale. Like, there's no way if I can make some money from 20 people, I can figure it out. So then I built BrendanMyers.com, and I started selling like these little $19 programs. And that was really, really, I wouldn't say it was massively successful, but it was really, really good. I had a lot of customers come in because of my social. And then from there, I built and I started learning more about marketing and how I can leverage advertising and how I can leverage community and just do what I love and create my YouTube and content and things like that. I went to Be Cut Fit and I built a nutrition company and also more programs, things like Be Cut Abs and Beast Mode, like different really cool programs. And I started selling even more of that. And then I started to introduce some memberships. And I was like, maybe I can do a $30 per month membership. Failed at it. Barely sold anything. And then from Be Cut Fit, I kept on just taking bigger and bigger steps. From Be Cut Fit, I really made a ton of money with one big program that I launched. And I was like, oh, shoot, I put these methods in place, then I can keep on doing that. And it just kept on leading me to more and more different businesses in the same vertical. And then I built I got really, really sick, like really bad. A lot of bad things happened to me in about a year span. And I lost my team, lost a lot of money. And I had to come back with a different mindset. And so I launched something called the Creative Fitness Academy, which we were teaching coaches how to go online. And with that company, it was like a hit right off the bat. We were teaching people how to go online, made about 120 in the first day on the first launch in a webinar style. And then from there, I started building different companies and working with different influencers. One of the memberships that I built and I was a CEO of with of course the other owner was Sculpt You, and we were able to really scale that. That was a $9 a month membership, and I owned a digital agency. I owned another bigger nutrition company that was much more successful. I owned a gym, of which I sold, and it all led me now to where we are today, owning software, My Coach AI, the first fully consolidated platform in the industry. So that's the journey, man. I've been through a lot of ups and downs, like made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, made a lot of money, went the wrong direction, should have gone this way, but I went this way. And now
You sound
I'm
like a
just
business owner
yeah,
or entrepreneur.
yeah. But like also it's funny. Yesterday I was talking to a buddy of mine, one of my best friends growing up, and I said, Chris, this is the first time that I actually feel like I'm a business owner. Like I'm a true entrepreneur, because the way that I look at entrepreneurship is you can have products. And I saw something on social media a few days before as well about how the difference between being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, it is vastly different. It really is. A business owner is someone, and not many people make it. I think that the 1% of business owners really make it. And that's like building a business, building systems, building something that is long lasting with like a corporate feel, right? And then being an entrepreneur is mainly in 2023 or 2024, selling products and doing things that are more short term, or things that are profitable, but they're not like long lasting, scalable, generational type ventures. And so I was telling him, I'm like, man, this is the first time I really feel like a business owner. And I've had a gym, I've sold it. I've owned nutrition companies. I've made, I would say, a decent amount of money. To the majority of people, it's a lot of money. And what I've recognized is that was me as an entrepreneur, just going after it and doing things that would provide something short term, but it was nothing that was generational. Now I'm in that space, and it's complete. Like it all prepared me for today and being a CEO and
Sure.
leadership. You know what it's like. It's like a whole different ballgame when you're talking about investments. You're talking about what's the valuation and the different, just all of it, the legal side, the trademark side,
Yeah.
like everything, IP. It's just different. It's a different ballgame.
It definitely is. And I think one of the biggest differences for me in essentially my journey is that whenever you're able to get outside the realm of selling yourself, but then selling a product, or getting out of selling a service and you get into selling a digital something, there's just a difference in scalability, because there's only so many workout programs you can write and manage. Right? Now, granted, that's a business, right? However, the difference between what we're talking about here on this conversation and just the entrepreneur is it sellable?
Yeah.
And if so, at what X is it sellable? That becomes the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner. Is it worth 1X, 2X, 3X, or is it worth 10, 15, or 20X?
Right.
Right. And that becomes the biggest difference in my mind. There are not many people in the world that create a company on their first one that is that scalable or that sellable, because we have to start with what we have. And what we have is two hands, and that is for service. Right. Whenever you get into talking big companies take on capital because you have the ability to scale so fast that money is now the fuel to building that, right? Versus a service company, no capital helps you because you can't fulfill it because you don't have the time.
Right.
You don't have the team. And so I just went out to a conference in California, and one of the questions they asked and said, hey, if if you were to get 5x the business today, what would happen? And I was like, ooh,
That's a good question.
well, that would probably be really difficult. And he was like, well, your business is not as worth as much as it could be then. I was like, okay, noted. Productize more, service less. Right? And just essentially the things that we develop and find out as we go, right? Same thing with the coffee company. If I 5X, I would still struggle because I don't have the warehouse staff to send times as many orders, right? Software solutions, can I collect the payments? All that, but can I fulfill it? Yes. But at the same time, it's much easier to fulfill a warehouse full of employees versus his skilled agents and skilled people that are providing a service, right? So it's like to scale, what type of employees do you have to hire?
Right.
Can you hire easy tenants to come in, or temps, to come in and fulfill the job, or does it have to be a skilled, educated, person? So it's really neat to see you've evolved, but not only have you evolved on a business side, you've evolved also on a personal level as well. So much so that you don't live in the country anymore. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Where do you currently live?
It's interesting that you bring that. I don't talk about this much, and I love how much I've grown as a man. I feel like I have a performance coach, and he's someone that has really supported me over these last like probably a month and a half. I would say always get a coach. Like if you have some type of financials,
Sure.
I'm not paying for it right now because of certain relations, but get a coach. I have transitioned from being a boy in so many different aspects to really, really being a man, really being the ownership and taking on the challenges as, hey, I'm in the front seat. I don't complain about it. I don't resist what is. These type of things have slowly come to be over the years, and now I really, really own every bit of being a man in my position. And I don't live in the United States. And the reason why I don't live in the United States, and for many people, they can't relate to this, but I trust my intuition 100% of the time. Even though it's so challenging and it's so uncomfortable, I do it. And so I was living in Denver, Colorado, and every bit of my being was saying, build my Coach AI. You've been waiting to do this for so many years. Do it, do it, do it. And not only that, but something doesn't seem right here in Denver. I had a gym, I had all these things comfortable, like it was all good, but something was pushing me to move away. If something was pushing me to saying, hey, this is not the right place. And what I did was I don't rush the process. I allow it to come and I honor the process. I honor whatever there is coming up for me. And so in those moments in Denver, I was just like, all right, my gut isn't telling me to leave yet. However, I want to leave so badly. And I was falling into a bit of depression. I felt so out of place and all these things. I want to say fully depression, but just really uncomfortable every day. And soon enough, I had an opportunity to go down to Cancun, Mexico. And it was on an all expenses paid sponsorship because of my following back in the day. I went down there. I met a girl. And it wasn't even about the girl, but it was about the conversations with the girl. She's this girl from Canada, spoke fluent in Spanish, and moved to Mexico, I would say 7 years ago, and she never left. And that was so interesting to me. And when I went down there, I was like, this feels right. I don't know why, but this is right. My intuition told me, so I moved to Mexico. Then my intuition said, go to Colombia. I went to Colombia. My intuition said, go to Spain. I went to Spain. Then my intuition said to go to Cordoba, Argentina, which is outside of Chile. And I don't know why, but the energy brought me there. And I feel very, very at place. My rent is $500 a month. I don't spend much at all. And I get to put all of my money into my business and show up for myself. And in the process, I've learned Spanish and now I can speak pretty fluently. And so it's been something where I don't know why, but I trust my gut. If I feel that I need to let go of somebody on my team, I trust my gut, even if it's so uncomfortable, even if it creates this sense of, I don't know, like this emotional response from me or the
Mm-hmm.
other person. I have to trust my intuition because I've spoke about this on stage before in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. My intuition never lies. My intuition is always telling me the truth. And it's the further away that I am from my intuition that I am the weakest. But the closest I am to my seed, which is my being, and my intuition is the closest I am to making the right decisions and getting to exactly where I want to be. Even if I don't even know where I'm going, it will still direct me in the place that I need to be. That's what happened. So now that's why I don't live in the United States.
Fully trusting our gut on that.
That's it. And now it's been
Like
the
a lot of
best.
people struggle with that.
Yeah, and it was the best, Mike. It was the best decision. It was the best.
Sure.
How many times have we been on calls already since we've met? And I've been in my
Yeah.
little office down there. I'm thriving. Like the internet's great. I'm thriving. I'm thriving. And I've just trusted myself. And now that I've been back in the United States, the way that they live, I didn't realize why I was there and what it gave to me. But it gives me this sense of appreciation for the people around me. It gives me this flowy part of Brendan that I never truly was able to experience here in the United States. Meaning I flow with my days, even though, yes, I'm working 12 or 14 hours or even 16 hours sometimes. I'm still flowy in the way with my friends there and the Spanish that I'm speaking. And it almost detaches me from the grind and how intense things are in the United States. And we don't even realize that we are really in this, people call it matrix or whatever it is, but your own matrix.
Sure.
It's your own, the world isn't even yours. And many of us, it's the world of other people. And it's all of this learned stuff. And so that's where it's led me, man. And people are very far away from their intuition, unfortunately. However, their intuition's screaming at them in all these situations. When you walk outside of the door, instead of holding open the door, your intuition told you to keep the door open, but it might be a little bit, I don't know, a little bit odd because you're the person that's holding the door for other people. Or when you go into an elevator, your intuition really tells you to say hello, like, hey, how are you? But what pulls us away from doing that? So it's these small little things that are time and time again. That's how I've gotten closer to my intuition and make the right decisions. And I feel great.
Dude, that's awesome. Do you find that you're able to be in more of a creative flow and always be creative? Because I find that obviously entrepreneurs have to be super creative, especially to come up with something new that you've developed, right? With My Coach AI.
Yeah, more or less. More or less. The benefits of being they say that the network is your world. It really is. The words, your world, the things that you're saying. The networks here in the United States are so powerful. I mean, I can walk outside of a restaurant and there's three really, really expensive cars. And I could talk to either any of those guys or girls, and they can give me so much life experience and business experience. And right there, I can get an investor. So it's like the creative side, yes and no. I think if you don't have a lot of discipline and you don't have that creative side already inside of you, being in a place that I am, for example, is very tough because there's not a ton of entrepreneurs. They live in the moment. And that for me works. But for other people, not necessarily, man. The United States, this is, people take it for granted. There are millionaires and millionaires and millionaires and successful people and life experience everywhere around you. And when people talk about, oh, I can't make money, I don't know how to make money. Well, you're talking about you can't make money. You're talking about that you don't know how to make money. Go and talk to the random person at the grocery store, and they'll give you ways how to make money. And imagine if you have enough of those experiences, you have all the accessibility here. You couldn't even imagine the amount of people that are down in Latin America and living in all these countries that have no idea. They don't have any idea on how to even get started, and they can't talk to anybody because all of the people that they would talk to don't even have an idea. So what do? It's different. It's different.
Right. All right, man. So tell me a little bit about My Coach AI. So I know that's something that's relatively, let's say, new to this space as far as the features and whatnot that you have. But I want you to explain, like, what is it? I want you to explain who your let's just say, competitors would be or companies alike, and what your direction mission is with it.
Yeah, so My Coach AI is a all-in-one platform that consolidates all the different systems that you may be using, or even the systems that you don't realize you're utilizing, to serve all of your clients. So we take out all the repetitive tasks that you need to do and we automate them. We allow you to leverage courses and one-on-one and challenges and resource centers and meal plan and so much more than what we've seen in the space for so much time. And so My Coach AI, Smarter, Faster, Genius, is a platform that we want to see as the standard. And we're half the price of everybody else. Our competitors are people like Trainerize and MyFitnessPal and True Coach, Everfit, Kahunas, and all these different platforms. Also, Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific, Evolution Nutrition, because what we've done again is we've consolidated. And so my passion behind it comes from a place of I've served tens of thousands of clients and customers, and so have you, and you've seen it time and time again with all of these softwares. There's things that are missing from like the everyday person. Just who are the owners of these companies, and how are they serving the coaches and also the clients? Are they people that have actually done it and have been, whether it is an influencer or the client themselves or the personal trainer for many years, or found a lot of success in selling? And so that's where we feel we really, really separate ourselves. We really are the coaches of the industry. I've been in this space for over 10 years. I've grown my social to 500 million plus views, 500 million, like real numbers. I've worked with so many influencers, a person from a meat factory that now is making millions of dollars, and so many other people. And so I know what it's like to serve the clients, and I know what they want. So we simplify the way that you thought you needed to coach into a new form of coaching. It's like when Apple came to the industry and they said, hey, I know you want to do all these different things, but just do these 3 things. And then now everyone's over on Apple and they're like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even imagine myself over here. We are the bridge between Apple and Microsoft. That's what we like to say. Microsoft, they build anything you request. Apple, they look at all the things that you request and they choose whatever they want. We have done both. And so we have masterminds. We do things that really support the coaches. And again, we're half the freaking price. And the reason being is because I know as a business owner, I can make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, but that's not all the money that I need to be able to make to live my life. I need a lot less to be able to live my life. And so why not bring that money back into the industry, bring that back into the coaches, build awesome partnerships like with yourself and what you're doing and other partners alike, and take it to the new level and the new standard that the industry has been waiting for. Not corporate level. We're talking about one-on-one. How do we support you as a coach? That's what we do.
What I think is really neat about what it is that we do, and I've always struggled with this, honestly, and sometimes I feel like I still do, if I'm being 100% honest. And it's one of our I4s that we talk about with AR, and it's impact. Your business, my business, allows us to help every party involved using our platform. And what I mean by that is that we make money, the coach makes money, the client sees results. It's a win-win-win for literally every person involved. And for example, when I had the coffee company, it wasn't really the same. Like, you received a product, you liked it, you come back and buy it, we'd make money. But when we're doing B2B, right, business to business, which is what the business you're in, the business that I'm in, is that you're helping the business make more money, and then you get to make money while you do it, and they get to serve and create a healthier environment for people, right? So if we talk fitness, for example, we get to make an impact on the trajectory of the obese climate of this nation, of this world. But with using our tools, we can touch more people, help them, and we create a real impact on the world. I don't think that there's anything, in my opinion, that's more detrimental to a family than being sick, and sick from our own self-inflicted of not knowing education.
Right.
Right. By 2030, 70% of the population is supposed to be overweight. That's 7 out of 10 kids. I don't know about you guys listening, but that's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
And I get to help try to make an impact on that. And you do as well. And so for me, I'm really starting to look at the bigger picture. And so much so that I had an invite come across my desk from a good friend of mine about now helping, trying to do marketing for a nonprofit in Africa. And it's like 5 years ago, I wouldn't take that deal. But now I'm like, hey, I want to create more of an impact. I would love to do what I can to help you in that project and help get it to more people and help market. And so it's funny how we start off with this idea of like money, and then it turns into like, well, if I can create a bigger impact, money will come in time. But how can I help more people and then worry about the income later? I make the small sacrifices now, whether it's like, I'm not going to pay a lot of money for rent so I can have a greater impact in the world. I'm not going to go buy the Florida home that I want because I want to stay small so that I can build a bigger business so that I can impact more people in the world. It will come in time,
Exactly.
right? We're still pretty young cats compared to, what Gary Vee says, right? You got time to build a business, right? So I think that's really cool. That's something that we do.
We're B2C.
And look forward to seeing
we're B2C.
Where it goes.
Realistically, we are B2C. I don't treat my business as a B2B, even though it is. Even though if I go and raise capital or I go public or whatever it is, we are B2B. I look at it as we are B2C. If we build a business to serve not only the businesses, but also the customers of the businesses, we win times 10. It's not
For sure.
The clients. If you make their clients happy, the businesses are happy. It makes it all much easier.
Yeah. So essentially spinning that to where I'm helping a coach provide a better service to their client, which means that I'm servicing the end client, giving us that B2C. So I can appreciate and I respect that, and totally understand where we're going at with that. So out of all the moving that we've done and going off of our gut, what's the biggest takeaway you've gotten from traveling and living in different places? What's the one thing that it's taught you more than anything else?
Slow down. Grab the wall. No, wiggle. No. It's to slow down and trust the process. I have this tattoo on my leg in Spanish, confía en el proceso. It just means trust in the process and simplify the process. Although we believe that the acute is the end of the world, it's the acute. It's short term. So allow things, be an observer. Actually, you know what? Be an observer. Be an observer. Be an observer of your business. Be an observer of the actions that you're making. Be an observer of the people around you. Be the observer of the way that others act. Be the observer of the challenges that you're facing. Be the observer of the wins that you're making. And when we can observe, our foundation is so much more clear and strong. Anything that hits us, good or bad, it doesn't sway us so far to one side or the other. The spectrum no longer exists because we're always defining it by this small area that we're staying in. And allowing that observation to take us in our businesses and our friendships, our relationships, it really does open up a world of potential. That's what I would say.
I like that. I feel like, the big things I heard of that is the slow down portion, because I feel like for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's just go, 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 myself included, right? Nonstop, go, 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 nonstop. And then I go, whether it be on a podcast, whether I go to an event, where I go do something outside my normal day-to-day routine, it makes me go, man, why don't you do this more often? Why don't you slow down a little bit more? Why don't you just take 10% off to be able to enjoy that, to bring that back and put that into the company with a little bit more revived energy, Right? Sometimes it's hard because we get in the weeds and we're like, what am I going to post today? And it's like, man, life is so much more than just what am I going to post today?
There's so much time.
But so much, however, we feel like there's so little. I every night I'm like, man, I wish I had another 4 hours in today.
But it's like,
to do what with?
yeah, man.
Because if I got that 4 hours, what would I do with it? Would I go play golf? Would I go on more date nights, or would I work with it?
Probably work.
It's like, well, I know my real answer. I don't like my real answer, but I know my real answer. But that's self-awareness of that, right? And it's conversations like this to make me go, hang on, Mike, what would you do with that 4 hours of time?
This is why I trust my intuition. And sometimes you have to put your intuition aside, and for the betterment of whatever you're pushing for, like it's the hustle mode. Like your intuition says, hey, take a break in this moment. But you're like, yo, no, I'm just gonna power through it. Probably should trust our intuition, right? But I sometimes do just push through it, and it does affect me. If we trust the process realistically, it is just so many doors open up. There's no reason not to. Like, hey, go on vacation to Cancun in a month. Like, it's been screaming at you to go and do that vacation. But then the devil side of you is like, no, don't do it. It's going to affect everything. Your business is going to fail. It's like, really? My business is going to fail in 4 days or 5 days? My business is going to fail because of the things that I did 6 months ago, not because of the 4 or 5 days that I'm taking a rest on, right?
Well, the truth is, you take 4 to 5 days off, you don't have a business anyway. You have a job.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
If your business fails in the 4 to 5 days that you took off, you didn't have a business. You have a job.
Yeah,
You put yourself in a position to where you don't have a business. You still are working for every hour that you spend inside the business.
There you go.
So a business is supposed to be able to make money while you sleep, right? And so if you can't plan to have those things in there, you need to restructure how your business is run and worked in the first place.
Ooh, that's good. You should make a podcast around that.
Well, this is how I kind of view it too, right? And somebody brought this to my mind when I was out in California. They said, "Hey, Mike, if you disappeared and you got kidnapped, and Brennan took you to Argentina for a month, what would happen? Would your family still live or be able to eat and be able to live the same lifestyle? No. Then you have a job. You don't have a business." Because if you had a 9 to 5 and that happened, the same thing would happen. So do you actually have a business? Can it operate without you? If not, how do we put things in place or work towards goals to have people in place to help you if you do get sick, like you experienced, right?
Right, and that takes time.
And so now you're developing something to where if you did get sick or you chose to go on vacation, which they both equal the same thing as being absent from the business, would it continue? Right. And that's essentially what we try to create, because you talked about wealth. Well, that's what wealth is. It's creating something that would be generational, but generational is to the employees and obviously not just to your family as well. But can everyone else still eat if you disappear? That's big business versus entrepreneurship in my mind.
I was in that for a long time. I was in that state of, also felt like I couldn't. I was afraid to leave. And
worrying kills more businesses than lack of income, in my opinion.
It does.
Because if the leader and your leadership, whether it be if you're a solo company or whether you're, owning a massive company, the stress usually will kill it because you lose the motivation. You make the wrong decisions because they're fear-based. You're nonstop worrying. Your family falls apart because you bring home worrying, right? Versus if we have this abundance mindset and this positive mindset, then no matter what happens, we can get through it. But if you're living on edge, which is something I've done for a long time, and I'm really trying to work getting out of that mindset to where hey, at the end of the day, I'm going to be okay.
Decisions.
And then from there, everything else is gravy.
Decisions. Being decisive.
Decisions, yeah.
That allows us to get there.
What's the biggest mistake you ever made in business?
I have several. One of the biggest mistakes is allowing my personal feelings get in the way of the business, meaning the emotional side. And now I'm so calm under pressure, and I don't allow any relationships to get in the way of anything. But it was simply that I built an entire business with several people, and I didn't love it. And that's just it. Maybe that's my mistake. I pursued something that I didn't love, and my intuition was telling me not to do, even though the money was
What were you
great.
chasing?
It
The
was
financial?
validation. Validation is a part of it. Being seen, feeling heard, adding something to my resume, being rich as fuck, like those type of things. And I've never been that person that wanted to be rich as fuck or anything like that. Like I will have a lot of money just naturally because of my path and the way that I'm building things. But yeah, I did those things, and now I recognize it. But the cool thing is I'm not a part of any of it anymore. And they're great experiences that I get to share. I was the CEO. I was working with so many different influencers. I did a lot of really cool things, but I wouldn't have, maybe I would have done it again, but I would have maybe adjusted it a little bit.
Yeah, I've been in some endeavors in the past that I think I have some really great takeaways as well, and I think a lot of it is also emotional too, and also some of them, like, I lost a lot of opportunities because I was focused on now cash instead of future cash.
Interesting.
Great example is, like, I was a co-founder of Rise Supplements, right? It's a 9-figure company, and I was worried about making an extra $3,000 or $4,000 and lost sight of big picture. But I was like, well, I need to make this money so that I can have a little bit better lifestyle. And because of that, I spent my time in other places where it should have been as a partner and an owner. Now, looking back, it's like, well, I have the resources now. I don't have to worry about those, the little bit of, we could call petty cash to help me live a little bit better lifestyle or drive a little bit better, nicer car, or be able to go out to eat more. So now I could give the time, energy. So it was like great opportunity, really bad timing. I wasn't the man that it needed to take to be able to truly help a company of that magnitude, or what it turned into, essentially, is probably a better way to put that.
Yes.
Not fully bought into something. And I feel like even with a lot of online coaches, that's something we struggle with, is fully buying into the process of building that business. Because when we say, like, oh, I want to train people, and it's okay, well, how much work have you put into actually acquiring those clients?
Right. Yeah.
Right. How much energy have we put into the systems in which we fill those clients with? Right. Is it, I got to answer this check-in? Or is it, I get to answer this check-in? I get to have this conversation. And sometimes we put that negative mindset.
But also,
on it because we're worried about
if you don't
cash.
like it, but also if you don't, if you're not fired up by it,
Yeah.
why are you doing it? Like, that's what,
Right.
from my perspective, is I don't want to do any of that stuff. That's why I stopped playing football. I walked into my college football wide receiver office, and it was my redshirt freshman year. And he said, "Hey, Brendan, we were 2 weeks out from playing the Florida Gators." He said, "Hey, Brendan, look behind you on the whiteboard. You're starting going into the Florida Gators." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my dream of playing in the NFL, all of these things, like, it's coming to life. It's gonna start placing its hand." But my gut told me, my intuition said, I do not like this anymore. I can't continue to do it. And so I didn't continue to do the check-ins. I didn't continue to answer emails. I didn't continue to look for different softwares. I didn't do any of that stuff. I said, this is not for me, and I'm going to keep on going. But that's also a reality that people need to come to. And sometimes it sucks because of the things that we want. We think that this is the way to get there, whether it's financially, whatever it is. But look, sometimes you don't even see what's actually going to get you there. And what we think is going to get us there isn't even in our lives yet.
I always tell people, it's like, I know this is your first business, it's your baby, but I promise it's not your last.
It could be, the 1% it is, but it ain't.
Sure. I would even say less than the 1%, since 2% of businesses makes 7 figures. To make $1 million, you're 2% of all businesses. So you're up against the ropes to start building a big business. And so for you, if you think you're going to do that on your first lick, that's tough. It takes a lot of trial and error. So one guy told me, he said, well, I guess I heard it more or less than told me, is that, and I've said this before, it's easy to build a 7-figure business. It just takes a long time to become the man it takes to build that business.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to go through the trial and errors.
Yeah, shit's tough.
You got to make the mistakes. You got to learn. Ain't nothing we do self-made, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
You've learned from somebody else along the way. You've learned from your own mistakes. You learn from if you're really good, you learn from other people's mistakes.
It's
and
tough.
then be able to move forward.
It's tough.
It's very tough. But at the same time, it doesn't take 7 figures to live a nice lifestyle.
No.
To be able to be happy, to be able to live anywhere in the world that you want.
Yeah, no.
Be able to do what you want and take the time to do what you want.
100K is
right?
plenty to live a life that you want.
40% of divorces wouldn't happen if there was an extra $400 of monthly income.
$400 more? Interesting.
Out of all the divorces, 40% of them is from what $400 would make or break the amount of arguments or decisions made inside the household.
Sounds like a money problem.
2 clients can save somebody's marriage. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But we don't sometimes see it that way.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to start to see those things too. It's like, well, money fixes a lot of problems. And the more money you make, the more problems you acquire. So there's this pendulum of like help. And then it's like, well, now I've got bigger problems. And then you start to roll into this. You forget the gratitude aspect of like, God, I can't believe I've got this extra $400 a month. This is great. And all of a sudden it turns into making an extra $4,000 a month. And all of a sudden we have a great lifestyle. Now we've got more problems. We're in the same situation. But we forget to take that gratitude of having that money because we spend it all. Now we're in a bigger shit mess.
You don't need money. You need Jesus. You don't need money. You need Jesus.
Sometimes I felt like that's something I've needed often. Not putting the right things into place, not making the right decisions, but trying to learn from them as I go, man. But dude, where can people find you at, dude?
Just Brendan Meyers, wherever the hell you want to find me. You'll probably even spell my name wrong. It's cool. Brendan Meyers. Just type it in on Google or something. That's enough. Even if they don't even want to, it's totally fine with me as well. As long as you're listening, you got something out of this and it ignited something in you. That's enough for me.
All right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to fully launching with my coach AI, since we're going to be using it inside of our company for some of our coaches and essentially teaching that and passing it down, man. So it's been an honor to essentially get to know you over the last few months. I've learned a lot. You've made me stretch my mind and think bigger, and I appreciate that because I'll tell you what, for all those that are listening, I've talked to a lot of business people, and no one that I've talked to has the aspirations as this individual.
Oh, shit.
This man will make you think big.
No shit. Thanks, man. That's crazy. Thank you.
And the confidence in saying some of the things that he said to me in private are wild. At the same time, I respect the shit out of it because it takes a really big man to have some really big goals.
Thanks, man. It takes a very small boy to be a big man.
We all start somewhere. Dude, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And look forward to the future.
Thank you, bro.
My biggest takeaway podcast.